Okay. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
Hey,
there we go.
good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you this morning?
I'm good. So it's funny because I'm Toya Algarin. I don't know if people know. I'm Toya Algarin.
Yeah.
I'm on the board at KIPP, and I'm a longtime old Gigi.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I'm out here fighting for children to get quality education,
Yes.
regardless of their zip code. So,
Yes.
Tefshir, when I called you, I was thinking, I was like, Tefshir, would you like to host with me on the Citizen Ed show? Oh, and 1 minute, I just want to big up to Citizen Ed. Let me just give that
Yes.
gratitude for him giving me the opportunity to be on the show. And yesterday, Raymond said that it was like driving a Cadillac, and he was the son asking to drive his Cadillac. Well, I'm the Auntie Gigi and
Yes.
Chris. I'm driving the Cadillac today.
On the takeover. On the takeover. Citizen
Exactly.
takeover for today.
So Tefshir and I actually work together, and we're 50 Can Fellows. We're the
Yeah,
first original cast and crew or cohort.
that's right.
So
That's right.
Tefshir, how about you tell us about yourself?
Uh, so where do I start? Right. I mean, I wear so many hats, and every time I get asked this question, I'm always like, okay, where am I at? Like, where am I at today? It's
Right.
funny when I go to meetings and things. Sometimes people are like, who are you here with today? Like, who are you from? Where are you from today? So a little bit about me. I'm a native Norker, proud New Jerseyan, lifelong New Jerseyan, proud of my city, always put on for my city. Go North, go Brick City. I'm a mom of 3 adult children. Thank God. Thank God. I am the grandma of 3 babies: a 6-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. They're probably going to.
Girl, I'll stop counting too.
They're going to kill me for that one. I am an advocate, an activist, and an organizer here in the city of Newark. I'm also the CEO of Parent Impact, an organization that I started with one of my fellow good friends last year. We're so excited to have that going. I'm also a New Jersey delegate and on the regional council for the National Parents Union, which is something that just started in January, and I'm super, super excited about that. So basically, I'm a big mouth and a busybody in my city, and I'm always fighting for parents' rights. I'm always activating parents and getting parent voices out there to really make sure that parents are at the forefront of conversation in every conversation, because that's how we think about the impact that parents have, right? Like, parents impact everything that happens in the life. So that's me. That's the small bio, 30-second bio.
Okay, thank you. So what I would like to do is tell the audience like what 50 Can's mission is. So their mission is to advocate at the local level for high quality education for all kids, regarding of their address. And I don't know how many times we've said that.
Yes,
We said that 100 times, huh?
we did. I mean,
And we say that in every conversation. So,
mhm.
Tafshir, when we were asked to be a fellow, they asked us to come up with a project, right?
Right.
So I know my project was to create a cohort appearance across Philadelphia in the KIPP region where they could bond and create unity and power and serve the people, the families that we focus on in Philadelphia. So what was your project?
So it was similar. It was to create parent advocate leaders in our schools and in our communities, and really change the way that schools interacted with parents. A lot of times, the schools only interact with parents when they want something done, right? It wasn't a conversation about parents being empowered or like Chris likes to say, in power, right? We're trying to figure out a way to have more parents be engaged and involved in their kids' schools, and then even out in the community. In the city of Newark, we did have some organizations that were doing that and that were doing it, well. But we have a lot of people in the city, and a lot of times parents weren't being engaged or even activated to be advocates for their children. So that was what my project was about, to really start to engage and activate more parents to be involved, empowered, engaged in their kids' schools. And it's still something I'm doing today. It's still the same thing I'm doing today.
Yeah, of course it is.
I'm
Me too. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, it never stops, does it?
It never stops.
So, what were some of the obstacles that stood in your way, and how did you ever overcome those obstacles?
So some of the first obstacles came because at the beginning of our project, we had to do a listening tour, which was, I think, was the best part of the project, to really be able to go around to community organizations, to go to school boards, to get involved, to show up for parent meetings at schools and really listen to what the parents were saying, some of the problems they were having at the schools, and really help them find solutions to some of their problems. So that was the best part, the like 3-month listening tour that we went on. So some of the first obstacles that I had at the schools were actually from the parents themselves. We have a lot of parents who are out here just trying to thrive and survive. They're working multiple jobs. They have to work. They don't have time to come to the schools. They don't have time to really think about the experience that their children are having at a school and think about their education. It's not at the forefront of their mind because they have things that they're thinking about. They're trying to survive and thrive and feed their families and pay their rent and things like that. So even having those conversations with those families, they were like, I love my children. I'm all for their education, but like I can't. I just don't have the capacity or time to come out to the school or really come and figure out what's happening at the school. So that was the first obstacle. The second obstacle was from parents who were able to come out to schools. They were very complacent. A lot of times parents get their kids in a great school. They're getting a good education. They're having a great experience. They're like, my kid is good, right? Like my kid is all right in this school. We all right. I don't really need to be engaged. I don't really need to be involved. But for those families, I always say there's something that you might be able to teach another parent about what you've learned, about advocacy that you've done for your child, right? So it's not just about making sure that your child is in a good space. It's making sure that all the kids are in a good space, or at least donating or dedicating some of your time to come out and help some other parents in some other way. So that was the second obstacle. And I think the third obstacle would have been the gatekeepers sometimes at the schools, right? At the schools themselves. A lot of times they have, they think about parent from a lens of coming to the school when there's an issue or rallying when there's an issue that needs to happen for the school, not thinking about the issues that the parents are having in their communities or the issues that the parents are having themselves that they want to rally around. So a lot of time there's almost like a gatekeeper mentality that parents can, they can come in and have that PTA meeting or have that PTO meeting, but they can't be talking about organizing, for something that's not school related, or they come in and they have that bake sale and do that fundraiser, but there's no real engagement happening, right? It's just, and again, we need bake sales and fundraisers, right? Organizations need money to be able to do things. But there was no real engagement happening. There was no real conversations about parents' rights. There was no real conversations about, parents who have children with disabilities, what their rights would be. And there was definitely not any conversation surrounding parents being in any type of leadership position, right? And on the board or just at the table making decisions when these decisions are being made. So those are the three obstacles that I think I faced even when I started this project, because I have been part of another organization in the city. I worked for Bayo part-time. So even me, myself, for our cohort, we talk a lot about this being a side hustle, right? Because a lot of us, we had full-time jobs. We still had kids who were in school. I had a part-time job. I had a husband. I had a family, and it was a lot.
Mom.
It was a side hustle. It was a lot to really get out there and really be out in the community, going to these meetings at night, staying up late, doing the work and things that we had to do. So do I feel like I've overcome some of those obstacles? A little. I mean, in certain spaces, yes. Is there a lot more work to be done? Yes. I don't feel like I've completely overcome some of those obstacles because we still have those things happening in our town. We still have parents who aren't, thinking about coming to the schools because they just don't have the capacity. We still have some parents that are complacent. And for some schools, we still have those gatekeepers. So I'm still out here. I'm still trying to fight the good fight and raise as many parent voices as possible and show them that they have power. So
Yeah, because I found it kind of difficult as well. And one of my obstacles was like just parents showing up. And the fact that you actually got to meet parents where they are.
Yes.
Because if you don't, it's difficult. And then you got to understand that. And sometimes we take what we could do and assume that other parents can do the same thing. And it's not like that whatsoever. So, I've been trying to visit all KIPP schools. So I did a little stint in East kids KIPP schools and tried to figure out who the lead parents are. And the other thing about this listening tour, when you listen, a lot of parents have a lot of things to say. It might not be always good things to say either.
Right.
And that's when you got to step back from what your agenda is and listen to what the school agenda is.
Exactly.
And that's one of the key things I found in 50K. And another key thing I found was to celebrate the small feats.
Yes.
Everything does not have to be, we're going to change the school board, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You can't do that. And because when you set those goals, right, they got to be SMART goals.
Right.
And the biggest thing, it has to be achievable.
That's right. That's right.
And you got to be able to measure it. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And it has to be in a timely manner, right? So for me, just getting the parents, sometimes just getting parents to the meeting was hard enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that wasn't achievable. And I had to remember that, because if you're a great organizer and you're a high achiever and you only got 5 people showing up, it could be really hard on you. Yeah, and it's like, am I doing this right? And you second guess yourself. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So that's the other reason why you need to meet parents where they are.
Yeah.
It's not because they don't like what you're doing. It's because you're not doing it in the time frame when they can do it.
That's right.
So that morning, that night, that phone call, that email, and I know you're a grandmom, so I'm gonna go out there and say this. Them youngest, they want to do the texting, they want to do the social media, which I don't have a problem with that. But at the same time, I can remember, and I hope nobody out there is listening, but I could remember being at work when it was dead, calling parents on the phone saying, hey, would you like to come to a meeting? We're doing this, blah, 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 blah. The other thing I found, pardon me.
I was saying me too. Like my lunch. I would be in the break room or one in the conference room, calling parents, setting up meetings. The minute I got off work, I wouldn't even come home sometimes. I would get off work at 4:00 and go straight to a meeting or go straight to a family's house or, and be there till 8, 9 o'clock. Sometimes not even cooking dinner, which my husband was a fan of, but he knew my mission. He knows my mission. So he's very supportive that way. Thanks, babe.
It's funny because I would take my son, who was another KIPPster. I would use him like here's my son, So yeah, I've been around KIPP for a minute, but so what were some of your learnings?
Oh, so many things to learn from that from my project. The first thing was I can't do it alone, right? I used to like to be that one woman show out there with that voice and talking to everybody. I tried to engage, 40,000 parents in the city of Newark. So the first thing I learned that, especially building the organization Parent Impact that I build now. So I tried to do a lot of things alone with the Parent Activation Project, and I realized that I couldn't. There was a lot of back-end things that had to be done. There was a lot of front-end things that had to be done. So that was my first learning. Don't try and do this alone. I definitely needed a partner, and I definitely needed someone who was as dedicated to parent voices and making sure that parents are partners and leaders in their community. And that was the only way I could do this. Second was when we learned how to do the campaign through 50K, they showed us how to do the education campaign. The second part is don't skip the steps, right? Don't, especially the planning of what your win is going to look like, and also who you need to have at the table with you. I was completely parent focused for a very long time when I first started into the foray of education advocacy and parent advocacy. I didn't think I needed lawmakers in the conversation. I didn't think I needed community members in the conversation. I'm like, we're parents. Like, we can do these things ourselves, and we can fight the good fight and do what we had to do. But that wasn't the case. I learned that you absolutely need to build a coalition of people to get things done, specifically things like passing policies and passing laws that affect kids. So, I had to kind of humble myself and say, I need other people with me to do this, but not just other parents. I need other people who actually can move the needle along to make sure that parents have what they need. And third, I learned, just like you said, we always want 100, 200, 500 parents to show up for meetings and rallies and things that are happening, but I need a strong 10. A strong, mighty group of 10 parent leaders, 10 parent advocates who are really in the fight, who are willing to learn about policy, who are willing to have the real conversations, and who are willing to raise their voices, especially in schools with the gatekeepers, right? To show up to those board meetings and really raise their voices and say, like, no, this is not right. And we need to change this, but really ones that are going to stick with you, that have, match your energy for parent engagement, match your energy for making sure that parent voices are being heard. And that was a hard thing to do. Our project was like 4 years ago, and I now feel like I have a good 10, 15 parents that are really strong parent leaders, strong parent advocates, that are really in the fight, that are raising their voices a lot these days. Even we're talking about things like reopening our KIPP schools. We're doing community town halls. Tomorrow is actually our second one. So I have 3 of those strong parent leaders as panelists in that conversation. Like, this was something that wouldn't have been done a few years ago. We had our school like PTOs, but those parents were kind of focused on the school specific. Like, these parents are thinking about the entire network, right? They're fighting for all 11 schools, all the families in all the schools. So definitely that mighty 10, right? That strong 10 to 15 groups of parents that can really lead the charge and be in it with you. That a lot of time goes a long way to building that 100, 200, 500 parents that you need when you want to do a larger rally.
Yeah, and that's the difference between having leaders and mobilizing parents.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And
mobilizing.
Exactly. And the thing that I learned as well was that listening tour is so important. And the thing about the listening tour is it's just a conversation.
That's it.
And you would be very surprised, like, where you are and you start talking education. That's about that listening tour, right?
Absolutely.
And because that's every conversation. The other thing that I learned was sometimes you don't need a lot of parents.
No.
I'd rather have a good 10 parents.
Yes, that good core 10. Like
that good core 10 than 500. And this is for the audience as well. If they're trying to build parent leaders and stuff like that. The one thing you need to know, right? You need to know, first of all, when kids are in elementary school, those parents are going to be heavily involved, right? Yeah. Because they have to be.
Yes.
In middle school, parents will be involved, but they'll start letting go just a little bit. And in high school, parents are almost non-existent, and those parents would be your band leaders, your sports parents, and your senior parents. Those are the ones who really get involved. You need to, and that was a big learning for me, So you need to pay attention to that. But I will say, in the time of COVID-19, the Rona, I'm sure all parents will be involved. And the thing about it, if you start planning these meetings and town halls, right? Listen, let them get what's on their chest off, right? Absolutely. Take great notes, right? Let it happen for maybe the first meeting or 30 minutes, and then move on and create solutions.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You got to create solutions.
You do.
Because parents will bitch, excuse my expression. Parents will bitch like all the time. And for me, Tafshir, I'll be honest with you, one of those parents that complains all the time, she might be a good leader. And you might want her on your side. Because she's going to keep you abreast of what's going on and keep you straight. She's going
to use her voice. She's not afraid to say the thing that she said, right? I was on a call a few weeks ago with a parent group, and they were asking me, in this time of virtual, how do you continue to engage families in this time of virtual? And how do you know that you have families that are really going to be in the fight with you? It's different when we were out in the world. I did a lot of one-on-ones with people. We would, I drank a lot of tea and coffee, and we would have those one-on-one conversations. I met them at schools, but this is behind the screen, right? Like now we're behind the screen. And how do you know if what are some things that we can do when you're doing virtual organizing to make sure that the people that you're organizing are going to show up again, right? Are going to show up for that next meeting that you're going to have to continue to organize them. And two of the pieces of advice that I offered was, number one, give people something to do. Give them some type of task that they need to do before the next meeting, right? If you give someone a task to do, they do the task, and then they come back excited at the next meeting, that they're going to be in it with you. They're like, okay, I'm excited about this thing, that whatever small task it could be just calling 10 more parents. They come back to the next meeting. They're like, I did that task. I'm excited. Like, what's next? How do I continue to help this movement? And the second piece is if they bring other parents with them, right? If they're on the call, that first organizing call, and then they bring another person to the next call, and then they bring another person to the next call. So those are just two ways that even in this virtual world, you can determine whether someone's going to be in it with you to move this movement forward, or, if they're just coming to be nosy, or if they're just not really interested in trying to build this movement with you. So that's just two quick pieces of advice.
And it's funny because I heard you say that you have your 10 core parents, and it's so funny, right? And you know what, girl? So we've been in this business, this for a minute, right? So check it out, right? For a minute, right? My parents are graduating, right? So I think the key also is if you have a full network from K to 12,
right?
You have those parents, and if they're going to stay in from K to 12, you have those parents stay involved all the way through. So once the elementary moves to middle school, take those parents with you. Middle school goes to high school, take them with you. You know what I'm saying? But I still have those key parents.
Yeah, and they move through different levels, right? As they go along. Because at the beginning, like you said, kindergarten parents are the most excited because they come in, their baby's in new school. They're just like, I want to join the PTA. I want to join the PTO. I want to be like the class mom or dad. Like, they are in it. They are really, really in it. But sometimes they don't have anyone to steer them in which direction they need to go when you're thinking about levels of parent engagement, involvement, engagement, and then empowerment. A lot of parents, they stay on that first level of involvement, and we need parents on every level. We need different parent voices. We need different ages, old parents, young parents. We just need everybody to be on some level when we're talking about working with families and really being a voice for families. So we need parents to be on that involvement level where they're coming to parent-teacher conferences, they're checking the kids' homework, they're reading to them at night. We need parents to be on that engagement level where they're being on the executive teams of PTAs, they're starting PTAs, they're the class mom, they're the class dad, they're helping out in the office. And then we especially need parents on that empowerment level, right? We need them to be on school boards. We need them to run for office. We need them to be in the room when those conversations are being made and those decisions are being made, and not just be there, not just have a seat, but have a decision-making ability. So we need to, I always try to groom everybody to be in that empowerment level, right? And I know it's not always, everybody doesn't always want to be there, but like that's a lot of my focus to make sure that parents are really creating that opportunity, and we're providing that opportunity for parents where they can be partners and leaders within their schools and community, because we need to have our voices everywhere. We need to be in the middle of everything.
It's funny what you say, because Dr. Fuller always talks about when you get invited in the room, make sure you open your mouth. And it's so funny because I've been on this board for 6 years, right? And this past year, girl, my mouth has been like, blah, 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 blah. But they invited me back. I don't know if I'm coming back next year. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, my voice is and that's why, like, on our fan page, our 8 Black Hand fan page, I always put the same statement, like with KIPP, and everybody's got their view of KIPP. And I'm like, look, I know what they did for me. I'm on the board, so I can hold them accountable, right, and have them continue to keep that same education.
Exactly.
Right. There's always going to be issues.
Right.
Right. The key is to identify those issues, right, and to be able to pivot,
That's right.
right?
That's
And
right.
solve the issue with a sense of urgency.
That's
And
right.
that's in a nonprofit organization or for-profit
That's right.
organization. Because
That's right.
things change, environment changes, people change, all that changes. So
Yeah,
it's a growing. It's like life. Life brings you changes. Look at us now. I'm
it
surprised
does.
I don't have my mask on. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. I'm
Me
just
too. Me too.
the
This is
other thing is, so how do you think? And I know how many you got, about 5 minutes.
yeah,
I'm
about 5
gonna
minutes.
wrap up, right? But I'm gonna give you 5 minutes. I got one more
Okay.
question. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Damn, I just forgot the question. Girl, I'm getting so old. Wait. So how do you sustain? What are your thoughts on sustaining your activism?
It's it's tough. Some days you just you want to give up. Especially some days when you feel like, are you really making a difference, right? Is anybody like really growing from the things that you're saying? Or do more parents feel empowered in these schools? This is hard work. A lot of times people don't understand the work of organizing, right? It's not that rally that you see at the end, right? It's not when somebody's on the megaphone and the 500 parents are there and they got their signs and their t-shirts, and like, that's the culmination of months of work, months of one-on-one conversations, group conversations, and it's a lot of work to get people organized for just like that 2-hour rally. But what sustains me in this work, and what keeps me excited about this work, is seeing the parents that I work with, seeing them grow. Like I talked about the 3 parents who are on the parent panel, right? A lot of those conversations about even having that roundtable, those parents are part of that conversation. And we really pushed to make sure that our particular KIPP school in New Jersey was having these conversations, because we definitely didn't want to be left out of the planning. And it was our voices, just constantly beating the drum of we need to be in these conversations. We need to be part of these planning. We need to make sure that other families know what's going on. So like seeing those parents actually grow and move into those different levels of leadership, and then continuing to see where they're going to go from here, because they're really excited, they're really engaged. Mm-hmm. That makes me feel like the things that I do and me beating the drum for so long is doing something, is moving the movement forward. Is there a lot more to be done? Absolutely. Do I absolutely want to see more parents on the board? Absolutely. And also working with organizations like the National Parents Union, that gives me, seeing 200 organizations across the country coming together, seeing so many parents come together to fight for change and equality and equity that we need in our Black and Brown communities. That gets me out the bed in the morning. It's like getting up and knowing that I'm part of a movement, and knowing that lots more parents can be part of this national movement for parent change and parent voice to be the center of the conversation. That is like, I get up and I'm like, yes, like let's do this thing. Like, what can we do today? Like, how can we fight today? Like, what policy can we change today? Those things really continue to keep me motivated. And like I said, I've been doing this a long time. My oldest son is 30 years old. And for my particular advocacy for myself, it's nature and nurture for me. My mom was the first advocate that I ever saw in my life advocate for her children. She was always there. She was always at the PTA. She was always at our conferences. And a quick story about myself, I had my oldest son when I was 16. So the school that I went to a VOTEC, and it was for gifted and talented students. And I was in an accelerated computer program. And I was pregnant at 16. And the school called me in, the social worker called me in. She called my mom in, and she's like, we have this school for girls who are pregnant. We feel like she might be more comfortable there. Now, this school was not a great school. It was a failing school. And, I know if anybody who's known a teenager or a pregnant woman, we're not the nicest people to be around sometimes. Can you imagine like a school full of pregnant teenage girls, just like angry and just. So my mother politely declined for me to leave that school. And she said, no, my child is going to stay in this school. She started in this school and she's going to continue to stay in this school. Wow. So that was the first time she had to fight for me while I was pregnant. The second time was when they wouldn't allow me to go on school trips, because they were going to insure me, but not my unborn child. So she had to fight for that. She had to like get like a lawyer in there. She was like, she has to go on these trips. She has to learn. She has to be part of her cohort of students. So like seeing her in that fight, seeing her fight for me like that, I knew that, you know, once I had my son and subsequently had my other two kids, that fighting for my kids was going to be my life. It was definitely nurture and nature. It's something that I had seen my entire life, and it was absolutely going to be something that I continued on to do for my own children. And then, you know, it kind of moved into other children, right? It's moved into me being, you know, to leadership positions and PTAs and councils and, you know, doing Girl Scouts and things like that. I moved into kind of like a leadership role with families. But it's always been my life. It's always going to be my life. Like I said, I don't have any kids in the system, but I have grandkids. And I fight for all the kids. I fight for all the kids and every parent voice everywhere, especially in the city of Newark, because we need to raise our voices every day.
I want to thank you so much for like just taking 30 minutes out of your day.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for inviting me, and thank you.
Yeah, we'll be on another show, I'm sure, somewhere in this virtual world of ours.
We will. We got to keep these conversations going wherever we can. Wherever people listening, we got to talk and get our messages out there.
All right. Keep fighting, girl. Good luck at the Good luck at
I'm going to be next. The New Jersey State Board of Education meeting is happening for all my New Jersey people. It's happening right now. Go online. I'm going to go on there now. I'm going to listen and make sure you get out there. And I like building a better advocacy movement, one person at a time. All it takes is the one person as a catalyst and your strong group of 10, and you can change the world.
Yep.
Have a good day. Thanks again, Toya.
Thank you so much. Okay, guys, so we're on our next contestant. No, I'm just kidding. Hello, Christina. How are you today?
I'm good. How you doing? It's 7:30 West Coast time.
I know, and your hair looks fabulous.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. So again, I'm hosting Chris's show. I'm the auntie in the Cadillac driver's seat.
Hey, Auntie Gigi.
That's right. So the thing I wanted to start off by reading your bio, because the last couple of weeks I've been on this journey, and it's the educational advocacy activism journey. And I've been looking at Citizen Ed, I've been looking at Zakia, I've been looking at Parents Union, and I've seen you on almost every show, right? And I'm like, who is this girl, right? So I started looking you up and was like, oh my goodness, impressive. And I was like, and then when I asked you to come on the show, I was like, bio, please. And then I was like, oh, no. She's going to read her own bio. Okay. That's what's going to happen today. So go ahead, hit it. Read your bio, girl.
You know, I'm just going to say who I am. I'm always, really honored, really humbled to help parents. You know what I mean? I come from a legacy of educators. My grandmother used to take me to work with her. She was an elementary school teacher, but she cared about the community. And I watched her stop on the side of the road to ask people if they had what they needed, and so just humbled to be able to walk in such great footsteps. My name is Christina Laster. I used to be the education chair for the NAACP in Southwest Riverside County. I then also worked for the California Policy Center as their statewide community organizer. I am now a National Parents Union delegate and advisor. Also, I am the education chair for the Kern County Bakersfield. Shout out to Kern County Bakersfield. I love my parents there. They know I just always shout them out. MLK Community Initiative, and an advisor in so many other areas of education. More so, I am a proud Black Latina parent and grandparent. And so, that is what is the fire in my bones.
Okay, now. So, I got to shout out to the I have Black Latina kids as well, just to let you know. But I do. So tell me, why advocacy? Tell me how you got started.
So I was the only Black kid in all of my classes, and I share this story, that I grew up in San Diego. I lived in southeastern San Diego. I caught the bus an hour and 15 minutes each way to the wealthy, affluent, white neighborhood of La Jolla, California. I was the only Black child in all of my classes throughout until I really got to high school and came back into the inner city for high school. And so, the questions that were in me as a child was, why can't my friends come? You know, when it was lunchtime and we had these wonderful meals, and my friends would talk about their little raggedy lunches. Why can't they just come eat lunch at my school? I remember I won a statewide competition, and I got to spend the night at the Reuben H. Fleet Theater. And I was like that token at the affluent, school. And they were so proud, like, oh, look at our Christina. She won the contest and statewide, and she gets to come spend the night. But I'm thinking, when I was there, there's space for more people, right? Why can't my friends and other people that I had dear in my heart be here spending the night and watching this 3D this movie in the Superdome, and have just free range of working with the science things? And it though I was happy, there was always that bittersweet feeling. And so when I got to college, I went to the University of San Diego, a private Catholic university. Same thing. I was the only Black adult at that time in my class. And I looked around and I'm like, there's other seats here. I'm in the political science program. So I did pre-law for 4 years, then went on to get a master's in business administration. And the whole time that lingering question kept on arising. Where is everybody else? Why couldn't they get on that bus? Why aren't they at this Reuben H. Fleet Theater? Why aren't they in this spacious place, with marble floors and things like that? And it haunted me to hear the dichotomy between, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and then sing the national Black anthem, God of our weary, and I'm thinking, something's not right here, so seeing the disparities, but then also feeling the disparities. What I had decided to do, and I was working for the public education system, was to use what I learned and teach it to parents real quick, right? Ooh. So I want to teach you the legal authority that I learned in pre-law school. I want to teach you how to question the finances and the business practices, because you follow the money, you find out a lot. So I started taking that information and really fast tracking it to parents to put power in their hands, because you can have a grassroots, but without the legal authority, you really have a hard time. And what I found was parents were fighting, and they were fighting hard. But without those certain things, they were really just fighting hard and not really getting far. Mm-hmm. And the pattern just kept repeating. Why is this cyclical thing keep happening? I have 2 adult children, and then I have 2 younger children and 3 grandchildren. I'm a proud grandma. And I saw that even that big gap, there was still that same things happening. I said, enough, right? We got to change our behavior. And so that's why I really started to say, I could educate my own kids, and I'll teach other parents what that looks like. But at the same time, we will continue to battle if you want to keep your kid in a district-run school.
Wow.
So that's, in a nutshell, why I ended up where I'm at today.
So that's something to think about, because we can, as parents, be chasing our tails, right? And that's when the goals that we set they're not achievable. But what you bring to the table is that legal background.
And that's the fiscal.
Good. Right. No. So what kind of obstacles did stood in your way while you were fighting for our rights?
The biggest obstacle that stands in my way is the narratives that are created, and the fact that the parents, the parent leaders, and the communities believe them, right? And so there's these narratives that are created around parent involvement. And so I started to really debunk that. What do you mean parent involvement? And what exactly does it mean when you say the Black parents aren't involved? And I need you to specify and give me a metric for what that looks like. Are you talking one parent, two parents, because I'm involved and I represent all of the Black kids you're talking about, right? And if in California, because our Black communities are so spread out, it's not one dominant Black community. If my child is only 1 or 2% of your school and they have siblings, what do you expect for involvement? And the second thing I started to really battle was the narrative around equity. Okay, you have all these equity projects, but no measurable outcomes. So if our children are average daily attending Black children are not being educated, and you're making us fight for equity funding to pay for some special programs, really, I'm challenging heart conditions. Do you want to teach them or not? Because no amount of dollars thrown at this will change the heart condition of the people that want to teach them or not. So what are the expectations when our children enter that class? And I don't want to hear we're waiting for a big mob of parents to show up to change this narrative, because the responsibility and the burden of proof is on you to show that you care about all kids. That has been a very big challenge. Me just telling Black educators the narrative has been false, telling Black parents to reject the narrative, and then also getting community leaders to understand the deficit has never been in us and our kids. The narratives that are created show that the deficit is in either us or our kids, and I reject that notion, because I know that I am a brilliant, beautiful Black person along with other brilliant, beautiful Black people and children. The deficit's not in us, but because y'all have the bad heart condition, the deficit is in you. And so what I'm willing and prepared to do is to say, let's pull back and pull our kids out till you fix your heart condition.
So the funny thing is, if I was like more of a audience member right now, I would be saying preach or teach. Okay. So the audience, I want to tell y'all right now, you got to take out your pens and papers and get ready. Okay. Write down what my girl's saying, even if you have to go back and look at it again. So how did you overcome some like changing the obstacles? What did you do?
So I want to share this.
Like one example.
Right. And I want to give one right now. And so one thing that I did, and I took out what running, and I don't know if you guys can see this picture that I'm sharing. Can you see it?
Nope.
Oh, okay. So
there it is. There it is.
So this is me along with other Black parents that stood up for our children. And we protested at the state capitol saying, hands off of our quality public education options. We don't want our children trapped in your failing schools, okay? We want to be able to have the options to take our kids to a place who are welcoming to them and would love to educate them, since you don't want to. The data that you see on this board that says 68% of Black kids in California can't read or write, this was last year around July. And it's true. The system wants to trap my son in a failing school. And so the data that you see, let me tell you how it changed. We're in 2020. Last year, it was 68% Black kids couldn't read or write or grade level. They didn't test this year, of course, pandemic, whatever. Last time I checked the data, it was 67.5% Black kids couldn't read or write or grade level, right? State data, documented through the California Department of Education, right? It's criminal that they would document something like that. Now, and not fix it. Like, you're gonna document that 67% or 68% of our kids can't read or write, and 80% of our kids can't do math, and you're providing that information for public view, but you hold no accountability. Shame on the state of California. Okay. And then when I looked into the national averages for the report card of how Black students were doing across the nation, and I saw that, and I need you guys to catch this. Black children, according to the national data, have not progressed since the year 2000. They will wait us out. Okay. So my victories and my push is for sanctuary. sanctuary space for our children. People say, well, that's segregation. No, it's not. There's de facto segregation at your school. Okay. I want our children to be able to thrive and not just barely survive. So that was one of the things that I did to make a public stance and say enough. And we're going to protect our kids, and we're going to do what is absolutely necessary. And if children need to be unsubscribed from the system in order to have effective, excellent education, so be it.
No, I'm clapping. That was fabulous.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
So I know. Okay, so I've been doing the work as well, not as extensive as you, but I've been doing the work, and I've been doing it for. My kids are 30. My oldest is 30. My youngest is 21. I got grandbabies, right? And in doing this work, I feel like I got really tired, you know, because it was overcoming for me, and I had trauma as well. So what I did was so for me, what brings me joy is crocheting. Yeah. So what I did, right, and you know Sharif El-Mekki, right? Yeah, so I went to him one day and I was like, hey, Sharif, what do you think about creating a space for children where they can relax, a safe space where they can relax, and I teach them how to crochet. So I did that at Sharif School for like a year, and then I did it at 2 different schools. Girl, I was busy going back and forth from school to school. But at the same time, I felt like I was still in the activism arena. It sustained me and it brought me joy, you know, so that I could continue to do this work. So what do you do to bring joy to yourself doing this work? Like, so you're not so angry and it doesn't get the best.
And, you know, and I tell people all the time, I'm not angry, but I am righteously indignant. Okay.
There you go.
And so what I do is just continue to help people, but I listen to, and my sister Isis is gonna laugh when I say this because she had me on her show and I couldn't name no songs. I do. I listen to Beethoven. I listen to classical music. I listen to gospel music, and I write. And I just write about a solution or write about, you know, how can, you know, we really change this. And I'm not just talking about for today, because me and you could be gone in 10 or 20 years. We don't know, but we had to leave something for the children, right? And so through my writings, I declare independence over our children. Yes. And that way they could go back and look and say, here, you know, look, I don't want to take control, but I'll be the GPS. You know what I mean? Here's how you're gonna get there. And I shared a document in I see my sister Isis laughing in the chat because she knows Isis, I got 5 right. Okay. And so anyway, I shared a document which is a policy statement that the American Academy of Pediatrics came out with in 2019. And I would love for everyone to look that up and really, really, really read through it. It talks about the impact of racism on child and adolescent health. Okay. So aside from us having calming techniques and being able to self-regulate and things like that, like you talk about, you know, crocheting and teaching children that is beautiful. Because if you read this document, you'll know they need so much more than that. And if the whole, you know, pediatric field utilize this policy statement to say, we have to change our infrastructure because we see these acute health issues in the children. And not only the children that experience the racism, but the children that are watching. They're traumatized too. And so I had to share that because we really do need to have some way to protect our children's hearts, protect our hearts and minds as we continue to battle. I remember, and everybody that know me know I got a Sunday school story, okay? I remember Nehemiah building the wall. And when the enemy came upon him, Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem kept messing with him, he told the people, pick up a tool and a weapon, okay?
Right.
We have to, in this day, pick up a tool and a weapon. Okay.
Yeah, you're so right, because I'm just sitting here thinking about like what I did with the crochet after school program at Chris's. I'm not Chris's. I'm sorry, Chris, but at Cherie's school.
Mm-hmm.
Cherie school, yeah. So what happened was we ended up combining 3 different groups together. And it was me,
Right.
the OG, right? I'm teaching them crochet. And then I had my girlfriend Nikki, who taught them how to make jewelry, like African jewelry and stuff like that. And then we had Chris talking about we were doing like mindfulness, black consciousness in the class.
Mm-hmm.
We were listening to jazz, and it was incredible how these children stayed until 6:30 at night.
Mm-hmm.
Be listening to jazz, talking about all kinds of things. And then when every other club was over, they would run down to our club because they wanted to seek that knowledge. They wanted
Yes.
and they could say whatever, not almost whatever, because I was the OG and but we did listen to a bit of their music and a bit of my music, which was great. And it's funny, like I see my daughter, who is like you, and she went to like a predominantly white school, high school.
Right.
And she's Spanish and black, and she really didn't know Spanish as much as she should have been to look Spanish. So
Okay.
I'm just saying, I mean, she was, discriminated against because she wasn't black enough and she wasn't Spanish enough and she wasn't white, and now she has like 3 kids who are very fair. And during coronavirus, she went to look for coloring books, right? Couldn't find any coloring books for children of color. So what she did was she made her own.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? She made her own, and now she's published and she's selling it. So I'm just saying, like we gotta take our culture back, right?
Yes.
And feel proud about who we are. So, and I feel like us me, I know I'm a bit older than you, but me as an old head is my responsibility to pass me on. I'm gonna pass me on, right, to these youngins out here, and then I'm going to move out the way. Like Tanisha Peoples, Tanisha, she went out. She's been doing so much. She got me riled up again. Just to go out there and fight. I know, Tanisha. Man, I was watching. I was like, "Dang, girl!" She was out protesting. Girl, I snuck out to a protest. I snuck out to the protest in Philly about virtual internet for everyone. I mean, for broadband for everyone. But yeah. So we have Go ahead.
I gotta validate what you're saying, and this is a whole nother show talking about that Black Latino experience.
Yeah.
You're not black enough, you're not Latina enough. Trust me, I get it. People always would say to me, what is your mom? Well, is it okay that, my grandpa is from South America, and so having to even explain that's a whole nother show. Just the colorism and the shade divisions. It happened in the South. I used to visit New Orleans as a child, and it's in shades. Like you Creole or what? You just it's a whole nother show. But I want to validate that, and so her creating her own space is her showing her identity and how she identifies, and that's fine, because if you don't know who you are, somebody else will dictate that to you.
Yep.
And their dictation is not going to be who you were created to be. And so shout out to her for that. I do, though, have to say this before we end.
Yes.
We have to collectively change our mentality. Okay. Right now is the opportunity to marshal it and seize a new era. We have to be willing to say, if you guys aren't going to change, we're going to change. And I'm not going to send my kid back to your school. I'll create my own space or go to a space that's already created. I've been telling parents all the time, you're battling the same thing your grandma did, your auntie did. What can you do to change what is going on right now? Right now is an opportunity to change our norms and our status quo in our homes. Now, I know everyone is not going to say they want to homeschool. I get it. But there is something tribally that could be done, community that can be done. in order to protect our children. So we have to shift our mentality to protect our children. And you can't continue to complain about what the district is or government run schools are or are not doing and still sign your kids up there because they're getting the dollars and it doesn't show any authority. It just shows that whatever they do can trickle down if they want it to or not. Right. And so I really, really just wanted to say that we have to begin to choose and fight for quality options. Don't fight against your advocates because they fight for you. Don't fight. I've seen it happen where people want to battle their own advocates, not even knowing until a year later that we've been fighting for you. Right. Do not fight your advocates. We fight for you and we fight for your children. Every generation should be doing better than the last. And if we're here in 2020, cannot miss this opportunity to seize and marshal in a new era for future generations. One other thing.
Go ahead.
Don't fight, and I'm sorry.
Go ahead, girl. Go ahead.
One other thing I gotta say, stop with the people that are fighting against school choice, saying school choice is the white choice. Knock it off. Okay, because you're fighting the very mechanism that we could utilize to create our own schools.
Say it again.
Stop fighting against school choice, saying that it's not a black choice. What does that mean, right?
Right.
It's a white woman's choice. You're fighting the very mechanism that we can utilize to create our own schools. I am so sure that Mary McLeod Bethune didn't say, I hate school choice. And she created schools. My dear friend, Dr. Fortune, who was on yesterday, got schools, right? Now, if we fight against school choice, we fighting against her, who in her schools are designed to bridge the achievement gap, and she does it and proves it. You take that fight and fight against the government-run schools, okay?
That's right.
That's where you take that energy to. And so that's all I have to say. I just had to give my Sunday school lesson today.
Oh, that's okay, girl. That's why you're here. That's why I chose you, because I know you're gonna have something to say. And I mean, I think that, I agree with you 100% because it's my child, my choice. And I've been all over trying to say that. And I don't think there's anybody in this. And basically, for me, I just want a high quality school. I don't care if it's parochial, if it's public, or if it's charter. Charter schools just happen to take care of me in the long run with my 3 children. So, well, I guess that's the end of our show.
Yes. Shout out to, thank you so much, Toya, seriously. And I want to just give a shout out and a thanks and a huge appreciation and honor to all of the mothers, grandmothers, fathers, grandfathers, aunties, uncles, abuelita, abuelo, tia, tío, whoever you are, primo and primas, okay, too, who help families every day, because without you, we couldn't do this by ourselves, especially single parents. I know sometimes you get weary, but we need you. Grandmas and grandpas, y'all gonna have to come out of retirement. Okay. We need you. Our children need you. We need that collectivity. And so I just want to give you appreciation and thanks. But I also, want to continue to say, fathers, mothers, uncles, aunties, we need you.
I just want to also give one shout out to the 8 Black Hands, right? I really do. I have to. I got to give that shout out because these brothers are all different and they come together and they totally support me. And that's why I started the fan page. But they're out here. These brothers are out here doing the work. Yeah. Every last one of them. They're out here doing the work and they're sharing their knowledge with us. So if you guys have, the people who are listening, if you haven't signed up for the 8 Black Hands, their Facebook page, just go to their Facebook page, find them and find me.
I love the 8 Black Hands. Y'all need to have they back. They had my back. Episode 25. They had my back when I was going through it. Okay. Right. So you guys do, we need to support and embrace our brothers and really, really, really have their backs because they got our backs and they have our kids' backs. Shout out to the 8 Black Hands.
That's right. And if you guys need us to come in as the GGs, we come to get them. We got your back.
And I'll bring the heat with me. California wildfire.
I'm just saying. Goodbye, guys.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
Have a great day.